Welcome to Dark Whisper Society. Today I give you another story from horror author Dark Monarch. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please enjoy the story. The Forgotten Friend. Chapter 1. The Collective Illusion. The rain outside the bookstore cafe was relentless, mirroring the dreary mood of the four people huddled around a small, wobbly table. Liam, Maya, Chloe, and Ben were lifelong friends, currently immersed in a nostalgia binge, sharing embarrassing childhood photos. Wait, who is this? Liam pointed to a faded picture from a sixth-grade birthday party. 6 kids were jammed onto a couch, but the one in the middle, a pale boy with strangely wide, dark eyes, was a stranger to all of them. I don't know, Maya frowned, tracing the boy's outline. He looks familiar, but I can't place him. Was he a cousin? No, Ben said firmly, shaking his head. Wait, hold on. His name, it starts with an A, right? Arthur? Asher. Chloe's fork clattered onto her plate. I remember him. Arthur Phelps. She looked around, confused by their blank stares. He was in our class, remember? We were inseparable for a whole summer before he moved away. We used to build forts in my backyard. Chloe, there was never an Arthur in our class, Liam stated, his voice flat. It was the 4 of us, plus Sarah and Chris. That's it. A cold dread began to pool in the center of the table. But I do remember him, Ben insisted, his eyes distant. He wasn't called Arthur, he was Silas. Silas was the one who taught us that ridiculous secret handshake, the triple clap, double fist bump. We did it every morning before the bell. Silas isn't right either, Maya interjected, leaning in conspiratorially. He was my first friend on the block. His name was Reese. Reese and I used to exchange Pokemon cards. I specifically remember the day he gave me my prize holographic Charizard. He was the most quiet, observant kid I knew. Liam's face was pale. This isn't funny, guys. Look at the photo again. He's there. We all know him, but we all remember a different name and a different history. Who is he, really? They spent the next hour frantically scrolling through old yearbooks, Facebook friends lists, and class registers. The boy in the photo, the one they all clearly remembered as someone significant, was nowhere to be found. His name, Arthur Silas Reese, was not on a single document. It was as if a ghost had been inserted into their shared memories. It's like a glitch, Chloe whispered, her eyes wide with fear. A collective delusion. We all remember an imaginary person. Liam picked up the photo again. This time, as the cafe's halogen light hit the boy's face, he swore the dark, unsettling eyes of the forgotten friend were looking directly out of the picture and straight at him. The smile on the boy's face seemed wider, too, than it had a moment ago. A slow, chilling realization washed over them. If their memories of him were real, then he was real. And if he was real, where had he gone? Chapter 2. The Reemergence. The group dispersed that night, not with the usual boisterous goodbyes, but with the quiet anxiety of people who had seen a foundational truth crumble. They promised to talk the next day, a flimsy attempt to anchor themselves back to reality. The next morning, Chloe woke to the unsettling sound of rhythmic clapping coming from downstairs. The triple clap, double fist bump. It was the secret handshake Ben had described, the one Silas had supposedly taught them. She froze in bed, her heart hammering. She lived alone. She crept to her bedroom door, her breath catching in her throat as the clapping stopped. Silence. Then a low, smooth voice called out from the living room. Chloe, did you forget about the fort? She recognized the voice instantly. It was the same one she remembered whispering secrets into a pillow fort, the voice of Arthur Phelps. At the same time, miles away, Maya was taking her dog, Charizard, named after the card Reese had given her, for a walk. As she passed the old, overgrown lot where the new subdivision was being built, she saw him. A young man, perhaps in his early 20s, stood leaning against a chain-link fence. He was pale and wore a dark, outdated hoodie. When he turned his head, Maya saw the wide, dark eyes from the photo. He held up a shiny, holographic Pokemon card. "It's not a fake, Maya," he said, his lips curling into the same unsettling, knowing smile from the picture. "It's the real one. I just wanted to make sure you didn't think I'd forgotten my favorite friend." Maya stumbled backward, the memory flooding her. Reese handing her the card, but his face blurring and shifting like an image trying to load on a slow connection. The man at the fence wasn't just like the boy in the photo. He was the older version of the imaginary friend she knew as Reese. "W, who are you?" she stammered, pulling her dog closer. "I'm the one you forgot," he replied, tilting his head. "And now that you all remembered me, even if you got the details wrong, I can finally come back." The man vaulted the fence and began walking toward her, his movements unnaturally fluid and fast. That evening, Liam got a text message. It was a picture sent from Ben's phone, a grainy selfie of Ben, looking terrified, sitting next to a smiling, pale-faced stranger. The stranger had his arm around Ben's shoulder, his fingers digging into Ben's shirt. The caption under the photo read, "We're going to catch up on lost time. Silas." Liam immediately called Ben, but the phone went straight to voicemail. He sank onto his couch, staring at the picture, the truth finally solidifying in his mind. The forgotten friend wasn't a memory error. He was an entity that had been forced out of existence, perhaps years ago, only surviving as a phantom limb in their minds. By focusing their shared, distorted memories on him, they hadn't just recalled him. They had used the combined force of their emotional energy to summon him back into the real world. And now, he was collecting his friends. A heavy knock rattled the front door. Liam didn't move. A smooth voice, low and polite, called out, "Liam, I'm sorry to bother you. I think you left your wallet at the cafe yesterday. Arthur told me you might be home." Liam's breath hitched. He knew the voice. It wasn't Arthur or Silas or Reese. It was the collective, unified voice of the non-existent boy. The boy who was now very real and standing on his doorstep, waiting for the door to open. Chapter 3, The Gathering. Liam didn't move. The second knock was softer, more insistent, and laced with an unnatural patience that chilled him to the core. "Liam, I really do have your wallet," the voice repeated. "It's been a long time. I just want to see my friend." Liam knew he was trapped. If he called the police, what would he say? "I'm being harassed by a non-existent person my friends and I accidentally willed into being." He took a shaky breath and stood up, moving toward the front door. He peered through the dusty, wide-angle peephole. The man standing on the porch was exactly as he appeared in the photo, only aged. Pale skin, dark, deep-set eyes, and an expression that wasn't menacing but eerily serene. A smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He wore a simple dark jacket, and in his hand, he held a worn, leather wallet that Liam immediately recognized as his own. He wasn't aggressive. He just looked lonely. Liam slowly unlocked the deadbolt and pulled the door open, leaving the security chain latched. He narrowed the gap, peering out. "How do you know my name?" Liam asked, his voice barely a rasp. The man tilted his head, a gesture of mild confusion. "How could I not? You're Liam. You're the one who found the photo. You started all this." He paused. "My name is Caleb." Liam's blood ran cold. Caleb, another name. The one he hadn't remembered, but the one that felt immediately and terrifyingly right. "What do you want, Caleb?" Liam whispered. Caleb held the wallet up to the gap. "I want to be remembered correctly. The four of you tore me apart. One of you remembered my favorite pastime, one remembered my handshake, one remembered my first name, and one remembered the place I lived." Caleb's eyes lost their serenity, replacing it with a flicker of genuine, agonizing sadness. I was a complete person, Liam, but when I was forgotten, I ceased to be complete. I became a fragmented whisper in the void. Liam looked past Caleb down the street. The heavy rain had given way to a thick, unnatural fog that seemed to absorb all sound. "You're not real," Liam insisted. "I am as real as your memory of me," Caleb countered smoothly. "And now I'm becoming more real." "Look," Caleb shifted slightly, and Liam could see a dark, oily smudge trailing behind Caleb's left foot, as if the ground beneath him couldn't fully sustain his presence. The edge of his dark jacket seemed to blur like an old TV signal flickering. "I need my pieces back," Caleb said, his voice dropping in pitch. "I need the parts your friends hold." A sudden sound ripped through the fog, the heavy, rhythmic thud of someone running, followed by a choked scream. Maya burst out of the swirling mist, her face streaked with tears and rain, dragging the terrified Charizard behind her. She ran straight toward Liam's house, not looking where she was going. "Liam, he's here." The card. He took it, and she stopped dead, staring past Liam and directly at Caleb. Caleb smiled, a triumphant, proprietary glint in his eyes. "Reese," Maya gasped, recognizing the name and the man simultaneously. "The Charizard." Caleb lifted his hand, and the holographic card Maya remembered suddenly materialized between his fingers, shimmering with unnatural light. "That's my quiet, observant piece," Caleb said, his voice gaining resonance. The blur around his jacket sharpened slightly. Then, a rusty car screeched to a halt at the curb. Ben was behind the wheel, his face pale and sweating. He flung the passenger door open. "Get in. Get in now," Ben yelled, his voice ragged. "Silas is in the trunk. I think I hit him, but he's still clapping." Before Maya could move, Caleb was upon her. It wasn't a run, it was a liquid, immediate glide. He grabbed her arm, and her face went slack, her eyes wide and blank. Caleb didn't hurt her, he simply touched her. "My secret, playful piece," Caleb murmured, as he effortlessly led the stunned Maya toward the open car door. Ben, seeing Caleb's unnerving presence and Maya's catatonic state, slammed the car into drive. The tires spun on the wet asphalt, but before he could pull away, Caleb moved to the driver's side window. Caleb didn't break the window. He put his hand against the glass, and the glass melted away like hot wax, pouring over Ben's shoulder. "The handshake belongs to me, Ben," Caleb said, reaching inside and pressing his palm against Ben's forehead. Ben's head snapped back. When his eyes fluttered open, they were empty, mirroring Maya's. "Arthur said this street. The fort was here," a new voice croaked nearby. Liam looked up. Chloe stumbled out of the fog, her clothes torn, her eyes darting wildly. She was murmuring to herself. "The fort, the backyard. I have to finish the fort." Caleb turned, a sense of magnetic finality pulling the air around him. The dark smears beneath his feet were gone. His form was solid now, vibrant and terrifyingly real. "And here's my first, deepest connection," Caleb declared, his voice ringing with a new, complete power. Liam realized what was happening. By remembering him in pieces, they had dismantled Caleb's essence. Now, he was collecting those pieces, harvesting the specific foundational memories from each of them to complete himself. And in doing so, he was emptying them. Caleb looked directly at Liam, his dark eyes sparkling with victorious relief. "I remember my name now, Liam," Caleb said, fully formed. "And I remember you. You're the one who gets to watch." The three friends, Maya, Ben, and Chloe, stood side by side, their faces pale and emotionless, their eyes reflecting the empty streetlights. They were shells, their memories and emotional ties to Caleb now residing within Caleb himself. Caleb gestured to his three inert friends. "We're going to catch up on lost time," he said, using the same phrase Ben had texted Liam earlier. He began to walk away, his three lifeless companions shuffling obediently behind him, following the perfectly real man they had once imagined. Liam was left alone, the wallet he had been distracted by lying forgotten on the wet doormat. He hadn't just lost his friends. He had been forced to witness their minds becoming the building blocks for the entity they had resurrected. He sank to his knees, staring at the swirling fog, knowing one horrifying thing. He had remembered the photograph, but he hadn't offered Caleb a piece of his memory. He had only offered the catalyst, the fear, the realization, the certainty of Caleb's existence. And Caleb was now complete, real, and free. Before you go, please subscribe and like so you can enjoy more stories by Dark Monarch.